in the Big E revelation. The Big E revelation had to do with, let's go to the Big E timeline. The Big E revelation had to do with this. It started out with America in energy trouble. We didn't have energy. We were having to buy energy from Islamic states, millions and millions of barrels of energy a day. And what we were doing is money was flowing out of America, and it was really hurting us financially. And we were what? Funding our enemy, essentially. Saudi Arabia took that money and began spending all over the world by developing mosques. They began building mosques turn the light on for me. They began building mosques. I remember driving by one in L.A. A great big, huge mosque. They went down into the impoverished area of town, bought up a mosque, destroyed the buildings that were there, put in this giant white mosque, and a big sign out front. This is a gift to the people of Los Angeles from the nation of Saudi Arabia. And they put in a mosque, built an incredible thing, funded it. They put in several full-time imams there that Saudi Arabia paid for. And they decorated the place, put in health facilities. They had a school, all kinds of things there. People in the neighborhood could send their children there. And essentially, what was that happening? That was my dollars going to Saudi Arabia. Then Saudi Arabia was using that money, and they were doing this all over the world. Then they got the idea that let's build a national mosque in every nation of the earth as a gift to that nation. So they went all over Africa building a national mosque. This national mosque was nicer than any other facility and buildings that these nations had. In fact, they were so nice that these mosques, as for use for government affairs, that is, when the prime minister of some nation would want to speak to a large group, they would bring them all into this mosque because it was made they had a big seating area, a big auditorium in these mosques, some of these mosques. So they began building national mosques and donating them as a gift from the Saudi people to this. And so what is this? This is, here we are. We're paying for it. These are U.S. dollars that are paying for these mosques. Yes.
I was thinking what they do at our universities too, Kenneth.
And they were doing the exact same thing at the universities. We would have a university that was struggling. They would come in and say, we want to build an Islamic Studies Center here. We'll put in $2.5 billion. They build the nicest facility on campus. They say, well, it's going to be a library that's going to house ancient scrolls that are very rare and priceless, and we're going to put in scholars here. And they build these Islamic on campuses to begin to influence the young people. And what happens? When you're a struggling college and they come in with all this money and do this, so what are they doing? They're doing what the United States government should have been doing. We should have been building churches all around the nation as a gift. You know what I'm saying? We should have had so what happens is there was a thing going on where the Big E revelation that the prophets began to prophesy about was reversing the situation. That is, this thing where we're paying for our own destruction. And, because of they had the oil and we didn't. And they had cheap oil and all that. And so King Clement began prophesying. He began prophesying things about how that there was going to be 5 new types of energy. Bob Jones saw it. Bob Jones said, there's going to be a solution to the energy crisis in 5 years. He said that back in about 2006. Somewhere there's going to be a solution to the energy crisis. So the energy crisis was going to resolve about 2011. By 2012 or so, we're going to have 5 new sources of energy released for America, and Tony Blair stepping down in the United Kingdom was going to be one of those signs. And Kim Clement started prophesying about the Big E back here in 2006 and 2005. And so he began prophesying about what's called the Big E back in May 22nd, 2005. He says, this is not oil, this is something else that is safer, and God wants to share a secret tonight that begins with an E. And so what we've had over the years is we've had a variety of things put forth. We've had, what is the E? Well, people said, well, it's ethanol. It's ethanol. We're going to add ethanol to the gasoline. That's the E. Some said it's E equals MC squared. It's Einstein's the big E. It's the energy that you get from these nuclear reactions. And it's that. So we had a lot of different concepts, but basically what we saw was there was going to be something that was going to be happening, and this was for America. This was going to turn around America, was the idea behind this. And we wouldn't be struggling with these high energy prices. And so I wanted to just show you, here is the price of West Texas Intermediate, and this starts back before 1950. This is 1950 back here. You can see oil was down here about $20 a barrel. Then in the 1970s, it spiked up, and the spike that we're looking at here is the oil embargo that Saudi Arabia and others did during Jimmy Carter's administration. So oil spiked way up here, well above $100 a barrel, then it came down afterwards, and it was down here. So when the prophets began prophesying, oil was about right in here. It was starting to go back up again, and they began prophesying a new day. God was going to deliver America. We saw oil go up above $140 a barrel. Then we saw it come down. This gray stripe here, this means a recession. It came down. It went way up, which was part of causing the recession. It's a high price of oil. Then it came way down here to about $42 a barrel. Then it got back up above 100, and now it's come down. So basically, what we're saying is the very thing that has been prophesied by the prophets is happening. It's literally happening. The oil crisis has been solved. The problem has been coming down, and we have new energy sources that are coming forth at this particular time. The issue still is, though, we're importing oil. The United States isn't self-sufficient. We're not exporting oil. We're still importing oil, and so part of that is we're going to have to get self-sufficient. We're still importing, I think it's 4 million barrels of oil a day from Saudi Arabia. So we have that. We still have that. Saudi Arabia is still making some money, but Saudi Arabia is in a position right now, because their oil revenues have fallen off, that they're in a position where they're going to have to begin to dispose of some of the U.S. dollars that they have, and they're going to have to begin to sell some U.S. treasuries. And they're looking at the possibility of privatizing part of Saudi Aramco and putting out an IPO, which would be the biggest IPO in the world, to sell off part of their oil revenues and make it a public company. What made me happy about this is that we've made progress, but we haven't fulfilled completely what the prophets have seen. We've made progress. We aren't self-sufficient. We haven't had the new energies come in, which we would include cold fusion or low energy nuclear reactions, and we haven't had energy. Those things have not come in. 0 point energy was kind of like free energy. Think of it as free energy, and so we haven't had those things up. Those things are coming. when we had Bob Jones over to our home several years ago, he was gracious enough to come over and visit a little bit with us. He told us some things concerning energy. One of the things he said was that we were going to have clean coal technology before we ended up with cold fusion. We would have clean coal before we ended up with cold fusion. So that was a major area. I wanted to take you to back to over here to the Magna gas, which is one of our big E companies, and take a look at what they're doing, because they're doing some new things that we need to be aware of today. The prophetic word, we had Cam with it. He said 5 new sources of energy for America. John Bolt saw it, Bob Jones saw it, many people saw it and prophesied to us. Bob Jones talked about the clean coal would be released just prior to cold fusion. Sean Bolt says he saw new energy technologies which will re-energize oil, coal, gas, and stuff. So he saw all those things, and we've talked to these guys personally about it, quizzed them on it. And there we've just looked at this big E timeline already. In America, we have all kinds of shale plays all over the place. Here's the Bakken. Here's the Texas. These are the ones we just covered. The ones down here in Texas that are so cheap. Well, we have Marcellus up here, which is shale. This is our coal reserves. This is the nations of the earth made to be the size of their coal reserves. You can see the United States is the biggest coal reserve in the world. Let me go back here. We have a new situation coming here where a new industry called coal combustion, which is a term which means to burn 2 or more fuels at the same time. And it's the process of injecting methane, biogas, and other fuel sources into the combustion chambers of coal-fired power plants. And so in the coal combustion, you put in 90% coal, 10% coal fuel, and in this case, just generally methane. You'd be injecting in there, and that's called coal combustion. What we have is a new thing that takes methane gas and changes into what's called Magna gas, and it burns at twice the temperatures of methane. And we have much more efficient removal of particulate matter, better cleaner burning coal. So it improves coal emissions by 40%. Here it is. It burns at 10,000 degrees, or it's 3,800 degrees centigrade. It burns at 10,000 degrees. This Magna gas does. This is a gas that's been invented by an inventor, and Magna gas has the total rights to this gas. They have 5 patents. It's 5 pending. It's faster, cheaper, cleaner, and hotter than any other gas. It's a disruptive technology with potential to reshape the coal industry. Basically, you can take oil or coal and Magna gas, add it to a power plant, and you can create energy, and you can eliminate the emissions. This is some of the coal combustion information. This is what Magna gas looks like when it's running. It runs like white hot. Here's a Magna gas power plant that they have, and Magna gas uses liquid or semi-liquid waste from many sources such as used motor oil, industrial fluids, antifreeze, paint thinner, human sewage, manure, poultry litter, etc. It burns hotter than any other gas known to man, 10,500 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a new hydrogen-based gas molecule. And the EPA mandate is cut emissions from power plants by 30% before 1930. That's their mandate. 260 U.S. coal mines have already closed. 80,000 jobs could be lost if we have to meet this carbon emissions by 2030. It almost completely consumes the carbon, also sulfur and nitrogen, the coal-based fuel. The pollutants may become like a secondary fuel, and there's a 30 to 40% reduction in CO2. They've just got a new JV partner in the U.S. and Canada, a new patent to bind Magna gas to coal and reduce emissions. They're going to have testing done by the end of this last year. They have an announcement coming sometime soon. We think it's January 2016, but that's passed. So it's coming sometime soon. If we take a look at the man, here's the man, Dr. Ruggero Santilli, who came here from Italy, and he's receiving an academic award for all of his years of service. He is the guy who has invented it. And so what we have, something really amazing happening, and the thing that I'm excited about is it appears to be a God thing. That is, there's all kinds of businesses that are always creating new things or have some new potential or new thing happening, but this appears to be a God thing. Let's talk about, here's a prophetic word that where Kim gives some insight into things we need to be looking for. This came February the 3rd, 2007 in Seattle, Washington. He says, I predicted something insignificant will become the greatest source of energy for the world. I also saw something major happening in South Florida. Something significant is going to happen in this nation by a very insignificant event. God's going to take of your dust. He's going to take of your trash. He's going to take of your soil. He's going to take of your bugs. Something insignificant, and make it the greatest source of energy for the world. There will be a major move of the Spirit in South Florida. So he talks about Florida. Bugs. This company is headquartered in Tarpon Springs, Florida, which is very close. It's right there in that area. When he says they're going to take your dust, your trash, your soil, your bugs, what is it? That's exactly what they're doing. They're taking these waste products and they're gathering them together and they're making methane. That's the primary thing that they're making. Then they have a technology which we might call cracking methane to create a new hydrogen-based gas that doesn't exist naturally. That then burns at 10,500 degrees. And because of this superheat, it can cause other fuels to burn better. Coal will burn better and clean. Diesel will burn better and clean, etc. Then he says this. Then he's in Orlando, Florida, on May the 4th, 2007. And he says, I received a prediction regarding a sign that would come and a find of great wealth in the sea. The Spirit of God says, do not take lightly what was spoken about concerning the sea, for there is something that is taking place in the sea. Vengeance is a battlefield under the waters. Why? Because of the great wealth that there shall come from the waters deep down. No, not from the moon, no, not from another planet, not yet. But God said from the sea that will bring a healing. And you will see the battle in the sea. The corruption shall be exposed, for even as Elijah went to the house of the woman of Zarephath, oil, sticks, and dirt, all of these components now to bring an abundance to America, United States of America. Sticks, dirt, oil, water, and amalgamation. And God says it shall be something that has never, ever happened before. And this nation shall speak of water, oil, dirt, and the amalgamation shall bring an energy. Therefore, look to the sign of the battlefield in the waters. So, battlefield in the waters. We're going to go into that because what we have is we see all these sticks and dirt, and which is what biomass and bugs and it's bacteria and bugs that break down this stuff into methane gas. If you go to a garbage dump, you know how much methane gas comes out of it. People who live near garbage dumps will find sometimes blocks away from garbage dumps, they'll find the streets catching on fire. And that's not really the street catching on fire, but there's cracks in the pavement or the asphalt, and methane gas comes up, and somehow it gets caught on fire, and it begins burning. You'll see streets actually on fire, blocks away from a refuge dump. Right, because all of that, those bugs in there are turning that waste into methane gas, and it's just escaping into the air. And it's happening all over the world. Then he says here, May the 5th, Orlando, Florida. More came about wealth in the sea. A link to a story of Simon Peter going out to find the coin in the fish's mouth. And some details I saw of an emblem. Quote, I delight in the prosperity of my people. As I told Simon Peter, find the fish, for the wealth is in the fish. They will fight, but there is great wealth energy not yet detected, which I will blind them to. For I will only allow my nation that will honor me to have this first fruits. You have given, therefore you shall be honored, says the Lord. I see an emblem of an octopus. It has a star. It has something underneath it. And this is an organization that shall arise. Fear not. As I told you, I laugh at those who would strike this nation. So he's warning of there's wealth in the seas, and there's going to be opposition coming against it. Then he's in San Jose, he says there's great wealth in the seas would be a sign regarding the new energy source. I won't read all of this, but he says, it's in your waters. I give this to you, says the Spirit of God. They will say this has never, ever happened before. The Spirit said, now watch the seas. Watch the wealth that comes as a sign. Then in June 16th in San Jose, he says, God showed me there would be 5 new sources. Also that the Pacific, the West Coast, would also share in a great discovery regarding energy. It will be linked to something they discover in the land, air, dolphin, whale, and octopus, and more. And we will see some of this as we go forward. He says, what is the dolphin and the whale and the octopus? Listen, God says, America, get ready to stand upright again. I will cause my church to prosper first, for I will give the pattern to you. For this day I have said, I will secure it until I find a righteous man who will take it and say, I have patented it for the kingdom of God, and it shall be given for God's work, and God's work shall accelerate, says the Lord. And so, what we have is we have a little background to what's been going on. Let me show you a little bit. Here is an article that just came out. Magna Gas joint venture partner chosen as subcontractor in $100 million NASA build-out selects Magna Gas for the project. Basically, this major company that does work for NASA has selected Magna Gas, and they become a partner, a subcontractor on the new assembly building for the Space Launch System. But the CEO of Magna Gas says this. He says, our present associations with companies are across a wide spectrum, providing a superior fuel for specific purposes. But our hope is that this connection with the aerospace industry may also lead to our becoming involved with new lines and new fuel products unrelated to the present uses of our fuel. What are they doing? They're using their fuel right now to cut steel, like as a replacement for acetylene. And they're getting new orders coming in, new companies are transferring over. This is going to be the new standard in the welding and cutting industry. But when he makes this thing, he wants to be involved with the aerospace industry and unrelated to the present uses of our fuel. What I saw was this, that what he's thinking in his heart is that this Magna Gas would then be added to the booster rockets that are taking things up into space. And if you remember, America used to have liquid rockets, and then we had a major disaster and fire on the launch pad. Then they decided to go to solid fuel. as a safer way of doing it rather than liquid. Because they had, what was it, oxygen was leaking from a O-ring or something and caused the problem and all that. And so they went to a solid propellant, which doesn't give you as much lift, much safer. But what he's talking about this, I believe, is he thinks by adding Magna gas to their solid propellant somehow, they can get incredible thrust, increase the thrust of these rockets, and get them into orbit for much less cost, go much further, much faster. So that's what I saw. I saw he was looking to be involved in that particular area. So not are they only looking at being involved in the coal industry. They're looking in the diesel industry. Now they're looking here, and that's not all just pie in the sky. Those are all things that might come someday. This might happen for any company. However, today they're increasing their sales. They're selling their gas more and more. And then what we get is a news release. Q2 Power receives order for commercial waste to power unit from Magna gas. It says here they have received a purchase order for a 10 kilowatt waste fuel to power system for Magna gas. The order represents Q2 Power's initial sale of its proprietary renewable power generator with an expected delivery date in the second quarter of this year. So what happens is the symbol on this is QPWR, Q Power. It's a QPWR, and it trades at about 50 cents a share. I just bought 300 shares. What happens is we're starting to see Magna Gas is to do what they're going to do is going to need to own this company, and maybe several companies. Let me this down, and I want to take you over here to. Yes.
I just struck that, as this is in the physical realm, it's what God is doing here. It's redemption, right? He takes that which is not to confound that which is.
Yes.
He takes throwaway people and he fills them with his spirit. And I tell you, there's going to be more power, and he's going to release that power. And I just feel that what this is happening in the natural is what he is doing with his body in the spiritual realm. And it's going to be a takeover.
It's going to be a takeover. Amen. Amen. Well, I agree with that. This is what's happening. Something that's been beat down. Here it is from Magna Gas, a news release. Magna Gas to present at Source Capital Group's Disruptive Growth Conference. They have a conference where companies that are coming in that are disruptive, they're going to come in and they're going to change the marketplace. And they've been invited to come there and to speak and make a presentation on February the 11th at 26th. Now, what happens is this is going to be webcast live, and also it is going to be recorded, and you can play it back later. And so you go to Magna Gas's website, and you can catch that because you're going to get an idea of what's going on in the disruptive aspect of how this can make a difference. Now, I wanted to go over and talk to you about here is a let's see if this will work. Yes. Here is Q2 Power. This is their piece of equipment. This is the piece of equipment that changes methane gas to new power gas. Now they don't. They have to use this equipment has to be modified by Magna Gas. This is Q2 Power's presentation. Here's their normal cycle. is they capture waste products from manure, whatever, biomass, sticks, whatever, and they mix it together and they create energy, and you pump it into the grid. That's their typical stuff. They go through all these metric tons of biomass that's around the world, that they can, around the United States, that if we harnessed it all, it would be incredible. Here's some of the pictures down here at the bottom. Can you see? Here is a plant where they're converting biomass. Here is the biomass which has been piled up, covered over with tarps, and they got hoses in there, pipes in there, sucking the methane gas out. Here they're gathering pig manure and doing the same thing. And here are the people that are involved in it. Let's see. I think that's all we need to look at. You can see that this is a small company. They only have about 10 employees, but they're growing. They're getting orders, and they're in a great spot. Just to produce energy this way isn't really productive. That is, just to take methane and to try to create energy from it, it can't compete. It's fine, but it costs a lot of money.
Any comment on why they were $5 last year and only 53 cents now?
No, they were only $5 for a day or two.
Okay.
They were only $5 for a day or two. Now I'd like to go and take a look at what I think the future is. Here's something similar to what Sean Bowles saw. Jerry, what you do so kind. Sean Bowles took him down under the ocean and showed him bubbles coming up out of the seabed. He saw these bubbles coming up to the surface. He was trying to figure out what was going on. Then he saw some submersibles down there working around it, and this angel of the Lord began to explain to him that there's energy trapped in the earth and in a mud layer down at the bottom of the ocean called methane hydrate. Methane hydrate down here. And this methane hydrate is trapped in this mud, but it gets released. These bubbles come up. We've all seen bubbles coming up from lakes or riverbeds or in the ocean. And you'll see these bubbles coming up, and this is naturally occurring methane hydrate. They come up to the surface, form a little sheen on the surface, and then they evaporate and go up in the air as methane gas in the air. So methane is constantly being supplied into the atmosphere, and they come out of mud volcanoes, gas reservoirs, all kinds of things. It gets trapped in here, turns into a hydrate. Some of it is in the cold areas where it's frozen, such as the Arctic. And you can see what's happening here. And so Sean was taken to there and told that was one of the new sources of energy. And you probably heard this. Here's a book, Fire from Ice. And this is ice will actually burn. But it's ice that has a methane hydrate in it. And you can actually take ice and set it on fire with a match. And Eugene Mallett covers it in that particular book. There is an introductory thing concerning methane hydrates. Where are they found? How much may exist, etc. Here's a shot right here that shows the ice burning. You can actually take ice and set it on fire. They have methane hydrate in them, and you can set the ice on fire. This is the structure of it, and and there's different types. Most of it is biogenic hydrate. It is caused by microbial activity in the upper several hundred meters of deep sea sediment. So what did Kemp see? He saw microbial. There's bugs. There's something doing something, producing. This is produced by these bugs. So he sees this very thing happening, and he's trying to describe what he's seeing. And so you can see what it looks like. It is in the area where it is just off the continental shelf in what's called the hydrate stability zone, right out off the continental shelf, and it's in the waters in the ocean. And you can see different things here. It's different areas where it is in the world, showing it's around the perimeter of nations, and it's off of our coast here. And how much may exist? Well, here's all of the onshore areas. Here's gas hydrates. Is more than all the other areas combined. We have Blake Ridge up here. We got stuff off of the Carolinas. We have the northwest slope of the Gulf of Mexico, all this area down here. Up here in the north slope of Alaska, this is where it's essentially located. We find Alaska North Slope. Here's Charleston and Savannah. See, here it is, a big bed right off the Carolinas. Goes all the way up to north. It goes up from Georgia all the way up to North Carolina. In this particular area.
Ken, how far offshore is it?
It's where the continental shelf is, so it's got to be 50, 80 miles offshore or something. And then, you see this? This is called the Whale. This is the deposit that's off North Carolina. This is off of Hudson Canyon. It's off of Virginia. This is off of Virginia. Remember, Kim Clement said the whale? This is called the whale. That's the whale. And there's other terms. Those other terms he said of the dolphin and the octopus. Those are other underground methane gas. That's the name of it. That's what they call it. Methane gas. So what we're seeing here is different techniques. You can drill down, extract out. Here's north. They did a test well in 2007 off of Alaska. There's different ways of extracting the methane hydrate. Gulf of Mexico joint industry project. Here's the down the Gulf of Mexico. Some of their sites that have great potential for this, and so basically what we see is the potential for the very prophetic word that the Lord gave to Kim Clement, who maybe can't even speak right now, who's had a stroke, and he's incapacitated somewhat. And so what we're doing is we are watching the prophetic word, and he said that the company would be come out of Florida. So an invention would come out of Florida. He said he saw the whale. It would be the wealth of the seas. We saw, let me go over here, because somewhere here, here's Wired. They have an article that said, "Playing with Frozen Fire. More energy is trapped under the sea as frozen natural gas than is stored in all the world's oil reserves, and researchers this week took a step forward toward tapping it. Vast reserves of methane hydrates, a form of natural gas, could power the world for decades to come but mining the deep frozen deposits presents an enormous technical challenge. We won't go into all of it, but basically what happens is Kim prophesies in here, there are 3 or 4 states that are going to be involved in this. And so what I see is this. I see that right now, Magna gas is relying on pig farms and waste products and sticks and biomass and stuff to create methane gas. And that this methane gas is then cracked, or some process is done to it, to create a new gas, which is a hydrogen-based molecule, which burns much hotter. And then this makes all other hydrocarbons burn better because it's a co-combustion. Add this to the fuel, and it makes them burn hotter and cleaner. And so what I see is this, that we're coming to a point where it won't just be pig farms and stuff that are supplying this in limited quantities, but we will be mining these areas off the coast. We'll be bringing methane gas in major ways, and our coal and our oil industry and our it'll help all of these areas do better. And so what I feel like God is doing is He's opening up these companies to us, such as Magna Gas and Q2 Power, and there's going to be several others. Why? Because these people are too small to do it on their own. But they have the technology and they have the patents. Yes.
Isn't that something we need to pray into the technology? Yes. Because, methane is toxic, isn't it?
Well, we breathe it, it's in our air, but what happens is one of the fears of global warming is this, that because global warming has happened many times in the past, it's gone through many different cycles, that when the warming happens, this ice begins to melt, and the methane hydrates are released, and they think that was maybe a cause of maybe extinction of animals, a whole thing. So this is something that is could be harmful if it goes the full cycle. So what I wanted you to do was see that and see the potential, because what we're seeing is something Kim started prophesying back in 2005, and here we are 11 years later, and we're seeing this coming together, but we're also seeing it could be another 11 years in working this thing out and bringing it to pass. Now, one of the things I wanted you to take a look at was this. I wanted you to take a look at this. You see, do you see what this is? This is a group of people. But what this is 2007, and Steve Jobs is on stage, and he's announcing the iPhone. And these are the people in the audience. And these are what? His investors, these are shareholders, members, boards of directors. These are people involved in the technology industry, the Apple industry. And these people are happy. Why? Steve Jobs is just announcing that that these people are millionaires and are going to get richer and richer. iPhone 6 has gone, Apple shares have gone up since 2007. These people are just really excited, and they're sitting there. And then there's this other group here. I wanted you to see this group. Now this looks like any group you could have in any kind of stadium. It might be a football game or something like that. But what this group is, this is a picture of Berkshire Hathaway's shareholder meeting. These are all the shareholders. They had 40-some thousand shareholders show up for the shareholders meeting. You had to be a shareholder to get in. And see, these are a couple guys that took a selfie and posted. But this is Warren Buffett is getting ready to speak to these people. He's getting ready to speak to these people. And I wanted you to see that. Why? because those people are extremely wealthy. And I decided, well, let's find out what a share of Berkshire Hathaway costs today. $190,820. That's one share. If you want to buy one share of Berkshire Hathaway, you have to come up with $191,000. You can be one share. What did we see? We just saw tens of thousands of shareholders sitting there. So what I want you to do is I want you to see yourself as you're like that sitting in Steve Jobs' audience, or you're like people who are just sitting where Berkshire Hathaway is having their very first shareholder meeting, and there's 3 people out there. I want you to see yourself in that light, that this is what God is doing. He's moving this direction. And what he's done is he's given us some beat-up companies and some beat-down companies. What? Sun Edison has fallen because they're under attack by two hedge funds. What? That's a great buying opportunity. Energy has fallen, and so in the world. So what has happened? Magna gas has been beat down, all right, because just general energy is down. They do construction projects, and construction projects are down. People are not spending, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a chance to get in at a bottom where we can be low cost. That's what we see with Liberty Star, getting in at a bottom. But the chance is, what I'm picturing is this. You people here are going to be like those people there. That is, we're going to have a crowd of shareholders who are going to say, praise God, what's happened now. Did Berkshire do this overnight? No, it doesn't happen overnight. But it's just steady growth over decades of where he has gone. Same thing with Apple. Apple's been going for a long time. What don't I like about it? Both of them were liberals. They all funded liberal causes. Warren Buffett is one of the major funders of abortion, Planned Parenthood. You know what I'm saying. So what we need is we need people on the other side of the equation. And so consider Magna gas as fulfilling one of the big E's, being one of the big E's. We have new ones coming. We have cold fusion coming. We have 0 point energy coming after that. We have some of those other things that are coming.